Okay, let's talk about our favorite topic, that topic being money. We love money, right? I'm Cody from Wall Street Breakdown. I promise you in this video, I'm going to try to not have so much exuberance in my voice that it slowly knocks the camera down until this table just melts away and it looks like I'm floating. That's not going to happen on this video, but what we are going to do on this video is we're actually going to take a look back at the previous video that I did and realize that there is still some work we need to cover long before we get out into actually discussing you investing your money. We're going to make sure that you've covered some of the more pertinent topics in investing that actually have really nothing to do with investing. Strange, right? You're saying like, what are you talking about? I just want to get my money into the market. Let's get me rich. Let's get me rich today. That sounds all well and good. But the fact is, you need to do some other stuff first before you can do that. So before we jump into what we jumped into last video, where I was giving you some actual advice on how you could move ahead with being a better retail investor, just the very baby steps of it all, we're going to take a step back, a big step back, and look at some things you need to check off that checklist before you even decide to purchase one share of one thing. That's right. There's stuff you got to do first. I want people to know that this is going to seem a little daunting. It is. There's no two ways around how daunting this ends up being. This is your life. You work really hard every day to make money. You go to work. You're grinding it out. You're trying to figure out how to do something on the side. This ultimately is the best job you will ever have if you can do this properly, if you can stay up with it, if you can learn to love the way the monetary system works. There is no more fun way, more interesting way, and a more learned way that you're ever going to find out about stuff. This is the whole world encompassed in this marketplace. You can find yourself a niche here, but please don't get overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that we're going to cover that you just have to take a look at. So the main thing, the number one important thing is your brain, this big goopy mass inside of your skull. What we don't want you doing is we don't want you having a madman take a ball peen hammer and smash it all over the concrete, or worse yet, have a really good working brain and choose to just deny the fact that some of this work needs to be done, and you're not going to be the exception to the rule. You're going to have to do the work to get good at it, because once you get good at it over a period of time, you're going to be able to prosper on a level that most people that you know are not going to be able to prosper at. And the thing I would advise you is that don't treat all the education that you get as something that you give out for free. This is me doing it right here, right now. Don't spend your time doing this for free for other people. Let other people go out and search out the resources to get this done. If you've spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of study time and then hundreds of hours of practical use time trying to figure out how to hone in on something that works for you, don't give it away for free. There's a time value for your time. You've got to value your time exponentially over other people's, because ultimately it comes down to your life and your quality of life and your family. So just before we get started, don't take all this stuff and just start regurgitating it to people. Spend your time and put it into practice and make things better for yourself. So it's education. That's why we got to protect this brain, because it's education that we need first and foremost. Now, education you're going to be able to do while you're doing some of these other tasks as you're getting prepared to be an investor. So the education is, it is so in-depth. We're talking about the jargon of the industry. There are so many terms and phrases and second terms and phrases for the same thing that without you knowing what anybody's talking about or how to implement any of that, it's going to go over your head. You're going to read a prospectus, you're going to read a contract, you're going to read an earnings call. You're going to hear talking heads just speaking on the television, and that is going to throw you off base, and it's going to be a turnoff. Let's just face it, right? Like when you're not getting the right vibe, you just want to push away. That's just the way life works. But you have to see things through to the end. I assure you, once you get it down, and we'll get into all these topics in a much more refined manner, but we want to cover a nice overlay of things in case you want to jump out today and just get started. So things like the jargon, do not get overwhelmed with that. I don't use CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox News, BNN. I don't use any of those as news that I would trade on. But I do like hearing analysts talk. I do like hearing, there are some individual people, announcers or TV personalities that are on there every day that I do enjoy what their opinion is, but I don't use their opinion to really gauge what I'm doing. But it's a great way to sit and just absorb the way the market talks. The way the market, the cadence of the stock market or the investment world, it all sort of reigns supreme on those type of media outlets. And you can see the way people use them in interactions, and sit there with your Wikipedia or Investopedia and search it up. Search up every word or acronym you don't understand and learn what that means and learn how it can be applied in your vernacular, because ultimately it's going to help you in the long run, because you're going to encounter a lot of foreign words, a lot of foreign phrases that aren't in the lexicon of people just walking around every day. So the jargon, the investment strategies, there are a million different ways to invest. There's a few ways that are tried and true, and education is going to be the key to everything. You're going to want to get educated. Books, there's a million books just to put you in the right mindset. I mean, there are books upon books. I wouldn't get too trapped up in a lot of the stuff that's out there. There's a lot of stuff out there that really just isn't as, the implementation just isn't there for me. A lot of it's technical analysis stuff, or people they're trying to build up a certain strategy. When I'm long short. I mean, I have the old school mentality about buying stocks, so I mean, my investment portfolio is that, and it always has been, and my mentality's always been that, because it worked for the guys that are the best, right? It worked for everybody who does things properly, including the guys who do things properly today, your Warren Buffetts. Everybody does the same kind of fundamental analysis, and then they use their instincts and foresight and a little bit of luck. Ultimately, when you do a lot of good work, I think a lot of luck comes into play because you've put luck on your side. So read, get invested in being educated. There's so many investment strategies and stuff out there that just to lock down on one is probably pretty fruitless. It's best that you have a nice diversification of what you can do so that you can implement what you think needs to be done in given situations, because there's a bunch of different ways to use options and futures that, there's so many different roads you could go down, and to not know how those roads work, it's useless for you. You've got a lot of time, right? You have time. Sleep quicker, right? That's Arnie's saying there was, you need 8 hours of sleep, just learn to sleep a little quicker. That seems relevant. That just seems relevant. Learn to sleep a little quicker. Investment vehicles, again, much like the strategies, there's, options, futures, there's Forex, there's ETFs, there's REITs, we go through it all. There's a bunch of stuff. Diversification, you need to know how to diversify. You're going to have to be able to do all this kind of stuff right off of Jump Street. So again, in the education section, learning about this is key. There are videos, books, there are seminars. You could go to school. You can do any kind of guerrilla education in 2017 that you want to. You do not have to attend Princeton or Harvard. You can attend the University of YouTube and learn about just about anything. It's just a matter of going out and doing it. And it seems daunting because, again, you're going to be learning a lot of stuff, and a lot of it's just going to be falling on deaf ears the first time, fifth time. But eventually, I assure you, you will grasp it, and it will be definitely a gun in the holster that you're going to want to be able to have to pull out if you need it. And you will. I mean, you will. Over a 20-year investing career, you're going to need it. Just principles of money, how money works, the different nuances of the way money changes over time. We talked about inflation and stuff. There's so many different little things about money and how money can be manipulated around and what you can do with money. And it's just, money is so math, but it's still so much its own living organism that you'd be surprised all the different ways that money can do things. Invest your time in learning. That's probably the ultimate takeaway from all this, is investing your time in learning, hedging the costs costs and commissions when you're investing, companies and sectors, and there's just constant upkeep. There's a million companies and a million sectors and all sorts of international markets, and you need to know so much. Oh my, to just be getting started in this. What a whimsical time it was. I don't really know where I can take you fellas from here. Like, it's just, this is where it becomes hands off for me. There's so much work that needs to be done. It's not easy. Anybody who wants to sell you this idea that this is just like all easy, you know what's easy? Anything that was hard. Anything that was hard that you did multiple times, repetition, memorization, put it into practical use, anything that was hard like that eventually becomes easy. So it is easy. If you know what's up, you'll figure it out. Everybody starts somewhere different. Everybody has a different learning curve. Don't let this become overly daunting, because this is going to be part of what you end up loving, is the education, because the education never stops when it comes to this industry. This is an ever-evolving organism. So this is going on at the same time you're doing a few of these other things. Other things that you're doing is becoming debt-free. Now, we're going to get into another video or another couple videos about how people can learn how to budget and how they can, manage the debts that they do have. There's a lot of people I'm speaking to, I imagine, that have some sort of consumer debts. I'm not going to bag on you if you've got a car and you've got a house and you've got liabilities. Everybody has this kind of stuff, but the idea is the useless spending, the bad money habits. These things need to get taken away. Consumer debt, racking up credit card bills, things you don't need. If you're paying $250 for cable, I haven't had cable in forever. I don't feel like I'm lacking in a whole lot of stuff, because that $250 allocation could go somewhere else, somewhere a lot more prosperous in the long run. And when you put compound interest and a little bit of foresight and mix that all together, you'd be doing some serious damage if you were cutting back on, like I said in the other video, you really need a pack of smokes, go for a jog. I'm sorry. I mean, I'd love to make it easier on you and tell you how this should be just, the gravy train, and this is just going to be whatever you want it to be, but it's not. It's going to be work. So you're going to have to make sacrifices in becoming debt-free, especially consumer debt. I mean, if you're holding the car now, you'll deal with it, right? Let's worry about getting credit cards paid down. Let's worry about where we can cut costs. Let's worry about what assets you might be holding on to that are a depreciating asset that you're not using, that's sitting out in your garage. I mean, what are you doing with that stuff? Are you keeping it? Are you starting a museum? Are you a collector? Or are you just keeping stuff to keep stuff because you don't like liquidity? Liquidity you can do a lot more with. Try to get yourself liquid, get yourself out of debt, because getting out of debt is going to be something you're going to need to do before you have the disposable income to get invested, before you have the disposable income even if you're really good. And the principal continues to build. You're going to feel obligated to take that principal out, some of that principal, those gains, and you're not going to allow the compound interest to work. And you know why you're going to do that? Because you have debt, because you rack up liabilities. I don't know. You could make lots of money every year, do really well, and drive a cheap little car. Because at the end of the day, size of your dick don't change no matter what size of the car you step out of. Nobody's flexing on your bank account because your car's weak. If your car gets you to where you're going, I don't know. I'm just saying how much are certain amenities worth to you right now, as opposed to where you want to go in the long run, the business you want to start, right? The career you want to have, the lifestyle you want to live over the course of time, what you want to do when you're retired. And I know life expectancy is getting longer and longer. As much as there's people out there that just want to find ways to kill themselves, and there's obviously other, things that happen to people, but there's a lot of good science behind aging, and people live a long time now. We've doubled our life expectancy in 150 years. So seriously, you're going to live a long time. You want to make sure you're taking care of your money so that you can get the best quality of your life. Look, the table is still in the same spot. This is an engineering marvel I've set up here in front of you this time. And you're a little closer to me. This feels a little more intimate. Next time I'm going to have you sit right on my lap. What's up? Anyways, moving right along. So we want to make sure we're debt free. We want to make sure that we're rocking the boat a little bit. We want to make sure that we are debt free. We don't want to be using money to buy nonsense. We don't want to be accumulating things we don't need to. And we don't want to be holding on to assets that are depreciating. Let's get those out, bring in the liquidity. Next. Now, unless you're a caveman or a survivalist living in the woods with no dependents and no assets, and you're just looking to play the stock market for some reason because you just got wicked LTE out there and you just love the greens and the reds. So good for you. You don't need this, but everybody else does. Insurance. You need to have insurance. Now, I'm from Canada. We've got moderate healthcare insurance up here. You know, our socialism still doesn't afford us the greatest of insurances, despite the socialism. But in the United States, you're going to have to be purchasing health insurance. And on top of that, life insurance. Do not even come to me and tell me about investing that you're doing if you do not have life insurance in place. Unless you are calling me from a cabin in the woods just with sweet LTE going like, hey, I don't even know a person other than the guy I just randomly called. I just got a question about investing in stocks. Cool. You homeless man out in the bush, I will give you all the advice in the world. Everybody else has a dependent, has someone they'd like to leave something to. You're not working for no reason. Do not give me this nonsense that you can't afford insurance. If you can afford a case of beer every weekend, if you can afford to be sitting here giving me these excuses, you can afford to work another hour every day and get yourself some insurance, because insurance is prudent. There are so many types of insurance. I mean, you need all these different riders. Long-term disability insurance, critical illness insurance, accident and sickness, long-term care insurance. I mean, you need things that will cover you from anything from that could happen from life or just you being a jackass and falling off your motorcycle. Like, I wouldn't advise riding a motorcycle, but what are you going to do? Somebody's going to ride a motorcycle, right? And somebody's going to fall off a motorcycle ultimately. And if you're an earner in your house, if you're someone who people rely on for stuff, man, that could really change the way your household outlook is financially. On top of that, what if you need care all the time, round the clock now, because you're messed right up? You need insurance. You need insurance to hedge you against all of life's problems. There's no two ways around that. I would not sit down and invest. When I worked for a brokerage, you could not sit down with a client without insurance in place. There was no investing. I'm sorry. I'm not going to invest with you. We're not going to sit and play stocks and bonds. We're not going to talk about this. I don't care how much you like Ford. It doesn't affect me. What affects me first is covering your ass. You've got a family. You've got people that care about you, a wife or a husband or kids or somebody, a nephew. You have somebody. You have assets. You need to make sure that you're using your head and protecting your ass. Insurance is a must. So you need to, and insurance... life license qualification book. You don't have to become an X. Here's the LLQP up here. It's the LLQP up here in Canada. I don't know what it is wherever other people are at, but it's the LLQP here. So yeah, life license qualification program. You don't need to take the course. Buy someone's old used textbook and become proficient in how insurance works so you know for yourself, and then walk in somewhere and get yourself some insurance in a nice short period of time from now, because you need insurance right now if you don't already have it. Insurance has investment vehicles, right? Like insurance got universal life, which is a little more pricey, and I don't necessarily recommend jumping into that. But I mean, if you wanted to just dip your toe in the pool while you're covering the insurance base, you could go ahead if you've got a little bit more money. And you know, a universal life has a lot more riders to it, so it costs a little bit more. It's got the investment vehicle attached to it, but it's going to give you the ability to then kind of get into the markets while doing what needs to be done. This stuff, the hard stuff, the learning, the things you don't want to do. Insurance is boring. Again, learning. You know, sign up. You need the Canadian Securities course. What's it called down in the States? I don't remember what it's called in the States. It's the Series 7 Canadian Securities course is what it is up here. That's how you become a broker, is that Wealth Management Essentials. Just get some textbooks, get some books, get anything, get educated. Insurance, you need to have insurance. I'm not gonna tell you to not. I'm not even gonna I wouldn't entertain a conversation with someone before they told me that, yeah, okay, I've got all this insurance in place because, like, this is how much money I bring in and how much my wife brings in and the dependents that we have and how much money we have saved and the liabilities that we got and what we plan on doing and how I'm going to protect her or how it's going to protect me if something happens. There's all these things that need to be done. Do them. Do them right now. Insurance. Let me tell you again. You're going to have to learn to develop some proactive habits. If you've gotten through this, okay, look, you went out and you started educating yourself. You're reading books by Benjamin Graham. You are out there learning about every company and sector and how to diversify and hedging. You're doing all that stuff. Good for you. Good for you. You are now getting debt free. You are crushing it. No more stupid spending money. You're saving money. You're doing the right thing. Good. You are on point. You know what? You've got insurance. You went out. You knew what I was talking about. You invested your time in reading about some insurance. Talked to a few insurance advisors. Bam, you and your husband got a couple insurance policies. Doesn't it feel good now to have that insurance instead of have that extra case of beer every weekend? So we've fixed multiple things. The last thing is the proactive habits. And because you've done this other stuff and you've made it through here, and I know you will, that it's not just momentum that's carrying you, it's that you are proficient at this. You are well skilled and well versed, and you are on your way to becoming financially successful. Good for you, right? That's what we're hoping for. These proactive habits are going to be the fact that there is a living organism in that marketplace. It is moving around nonstop. Everything changes. Every minute of the day, something changes. You are not going to have your finger on the pulse of all of it. That's just not going to happen. Don't put all that on your shoulders, but you are going to have to be invested emotionally, mentally, with your concentration, not just mentally there, present, but you're going to have to literally be retaining what you're pulling in and Philodexing how that ends up working in regards to all the other information you know about what you're looking at, whatever that topic is. Because things trickle out and it's coming from all angles. But you'll get good at it. I can assure you, you get through these first things, get to the part where you start being proactive about what's going on in the markets on a regular basis, and you'll find that the learning curve is very, very small once you have some of this other stuff in order. Because getting that other stuff in order is very difficult. That's the big daunting steps, and we will cover all the education stuff. We might even go right through this Canadian Securities course. I might walk you through this whole thing. Who knows? That's only one of the 2 books. I might walk you through the whole thing. It's easy. It's easy. It looks huge and whatever, but it's easy. There's changes constantly, right? There's changes to the marketplace, like I was saying, the economy, to industries, to companies, to tax laws. I mean, there are changes going on a nonstop basis. You need to be hip to what's going on. I mean, you cannot be. You can suck at this. That's fine. But if you don't love this, you're going to suck at it. Because the people who love this, the people who are aggressive about it, are the people that win at this. You don't have to be aggressive and be a dumbass, right? Don't attack the block every day. That's not the way it works. But you have to be aggressive about your growth involved in this. You have to have goals set out where you're like, look, I'm working at this. I'm going to become 10,000 hour rule mastery proficient at things. The only way you're going to be able to do that is if you love it. You need to learn to love it. And money is everything. It's everything. Everything we're doing, the commercial that played before this video is money, right? Who knows if they monetize my stuff now that I cuss? I don't know. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Everything is money, right? Everything's money. It all costs a little bit of money. I'm married. Do you know how much money that is? I have children. That costs copious amounts of money. Everything costs money. Learn to love money. Money is your friend. Good money habits will turn money from your adversary into your friend. Money will be your ally. but you need to keep up on things that are going on every day and feeling secure in the way that you feel about money. That's the only way that it works. It's like a muscle. You've got to flex it. It needs to work so that you develop a mind-muscle connection with it, so that you know how things are working, the proficiency of that muscle, the fluidity of it working. That's how you develop that same relationship with money, is you need to feel a connection, adhere to it. Don't let people tell you money doesn't buy happiness. You know what money buys? Money buys you peace of mind. It doesn't buy you happiness. Happiness comes from in here. Happiness is something, hey man, if you like what you do, if you're enjoying your life, you're probably a pretty happy guy. Now, other people telling you or smiling all the time, it doesn't necessarily make you happy. Happy's in here. Happy is contentment. Happy is feeling peaceful. That's happy. Can money buy you happiness? No. But can money help you feel more content, more at ease, relieve anxieties? Yeah. Money can do all that. Because not only do you have then the option to do what you want, but you have the option to take a bunch of things that are the worries of the masses and remove them as a worry of yours. You don't have to worry about where your next paycheck comes from. You don't have to worry about if your job lays you off. You don't have to worry about that because you've been working hard on your money. You've been working hard on your money in every direction you're supposed to be working. You spend your free time working on your money. You spend 40 hours, 50 hours a week working at your job for money, for a nominal fee of money. Why not spend your free time and work on the amount of money that could turn the money your job pays you into an afterthought? 40 hours a week at that paycheck. Just saying. Money is something that you can learn to embrace, and it will bring happiness into your life by the way of all the hardships it can remove, all the what ifs, all the, I hope the furnace doesn't break, or I hope my car doesn't break down. All those feelings dissipate in the ether because you're like, I'm money solid. Like, I mean, I'm not balling out of control. I'm not P. Diddy, but I'm not worried about my transmission. If it happens, it happens. It won't put me at the absolute end of the line. It won't be in the bread line, that's for sure. But it takes developing these habits. Not that you guys can't do them. In fact, I assume you're going to do them. Because that's why you're here. That's why we've been here talking about this for 28 minutes or so now. Actually, there was probably a minute at the beginning Anthony's going to edit out where I was stretching. Yeah, that. Money is your friend. You're going to need to learn this stuff first. The main thing is the education. Let's put that into practice. Let's move along with the education consistently going as you find yourself getting debt-free and you get yourself the proper insurance that you and your family need. As you work through all of those, we keep the education consistently going because why wouldn't we? Education is the key to all of this, and we move right into proficient money habits, especially after we've removed all those bad money habits, and you should find yourself ready to get into the stock market. And that's where we actually would go back to that first video, but some of that was just the education you'll learn along the way as well. I thank you for joining me as I talk about some stuff that I really enjoy talking about. We're going to, like I said, cover the news on Sundays, but I think this is a lot more in depth and really gives people a perspective on, at least my opinions. My opinions don't necessarily have to be right, but my opinions have mostly been formulated from a bunch of people who've predominantly been right, especially in the topic that we're talking about. So my opinions are just the opinions regurgitated of really smart people because I really like the education of money. Money's fun. Money does lots of cool things. I'm Cody from Wall Street Breakdown. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, do all that kind of jazz. We love hearing from you. Leave us some comments and have yourself an outstanding rest of your day.